It's a raccoon with a talk show slinging culture facts you might not know. From the biggest flops to the greatest hits, this is Trash Can Tidbits.
Hey everyone, I'm Beaton, and I hope everyone had a happy and safe Halloween. I think I got one more spooky video in me, so this week's Trash Can Tidbits will have some more spooky pop culture facts. And last week I asked the question, what was Boris Karloff's real name? The answer is William Henry Pratt. Pratt had appeared in many silent films throughout the mid-1910s through the 1920s, but work for him was rather limited. By the time he made Frankenstein, he had been featured in 80 films. It's disputed where he got the name Boris Karloff for his stage name, but some theorize it came from a villainous character he played on the stage. After Frankenstein, he had become such a huge success that in some movies, he was sometimes known as simply Karloff or even Karloff the Uncanny. But as I mentioned in a previous video, he was not an intimidating man at all, he always broke character when the camera stopped, and he loved children. Now, with that addressed, let's get started with fact number 1. Did you know that Resident Evil 4 is the most ported game in the entire franchise? Originally released exclusively for the Nintendo GameCube, the plan was to release each previous game in the series leading up to Resident Evil 4 on that system because of the enhanced remake of the first game, as well as the exclusive prequel to the first game, Resident Evil 0. It was intended to stay on that console only, but after striking a deal with Sony for an exclusive campaign starring supporting character Ada Wong, Resident Evil 4 was first ported to the PS2 in 2005. The same year it was first released on the GameCube. Since then, RE4 has been ported to every single subsequent console imaginable, including the Wii, PC, PS4, the Switch, and even a Japanese exclusive port for Samsung phones. Fact 2. Did you know that the three main characters in Roald Dahl's book, The Witches, don't have names? The boy who narrates the story doesn't have a name, as well as the grandmother and the Grand High Witch. The original film from 1990 did give them names. The boy is named Luke, his grandma is named Helga Evesham, and the Grand High Witch is named Eva Ernst. The recent reimagining of the story, which was released exclusively on HBO Max a few weeks ago, returned the nameless aspect of the characters to be more true to the book. Fact 3. Did you know that the red lips in the opening of the Rocky Horror Picture Show belonged to one of the show's main actors? The iconic red lips that sing the first song in the movie, science fiction double feature, belong to actress Patricia Quinn, who plays Magenta in the movie. In fact, the main reason she wanted to be in the original show was because she loved that song and wanted to sing it. She sang it in the original London show, but not in the movie itself, as the voice is not actually hers. That honor goes to the show's author and songwriter, Richard O'Brien, who also plays Riff Raff in the film. Fact 4. Did you know that in its earliest issues, the magazine Nintendo Power came under fire for a controversial image? To promote the video game Castlevania II: Simon's Quest, the cover of the magazine's second issue featured an intimidating image of the game's hero, Simon Belmont, holding Dracula's severed head. The image allegedly caused nightmares among some children, and prompting the usual angry parent protest. It still didn't matter, as Nintendo did its job at promoting Simon's Quest, and the game was a bestseller. Not bad for a second issue. Nintendo Power printed its final issue in 2012. Fact 5. Did you know that writer-director John Carpenter considers his decision to make the Halloween protagonist's siblings a mistake? He was also opposed at first to making a sequel to the first Halloween movie, and took the writing and producing jobs only because he was busy on other directing projects. During the writing process, however, he felt he had exhausted every other idea the original movie already had, and did what any desperate writer would do. He started drinking. And in this drunken stupor, he laid out the big revelation that killer Michael Myers and protagonist Laurie Strode were in fact brother and sister. To this day, Carpenter considers Halloween 2 to be inferior to the original, even though it has become a classic in its own right. And he had better input for the 2018 hard reboot when it was decided to have no familial link between the characters whatsoever. Fact 6. Did you know that Nightmare Before Christmas composer Danny Elfman provided the singing voice for Jack Skellington? Actor Chris Sarandon, also known for playing the evil Prince Humperdinck in The Princess Bride, was already on hand to provide Jack's singing voice, but he later admitted he couldn't sing, at least not in the way Jack was supposed to. Elfman is not just a gifted songwriter, but also provides his own singing in many scores he's worked on for Tim Burton, such as Corpse Bride and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. He decided his voice fit the sound of Sarandon's speaking voice, and the two complement each other's vocal stylings very well. Interestingly enough, many years later, Chris Sarandon would go on to be featured in the Broadway musical The Light in the Piazza, where he did indeed get to sing. Fact 7. Did you know that by sheer coincidence, 3 actresses who appeared in various Nightmare on Elm Street movies starred together in an 80s sitcom? The show, Just the 10 of Us, was about a family of 10 moving out to California, where 5 of the daughters go to an all-boys school because of their gym teacher father. 3 of the actresses were in different Nightmare on Elm Street movies. Heather Langenkamp was in the 1st, 3rd, and 7th movies, Joanne Willette was in the 2nd, and Brooke Theiss was in the 4th. Because of this revelation, the show made numerous references to the Elm Street series, including the teenage son being a fan of the series. Fact 8. Did you know that for at least one take of Robert Shaw's monologue about the USS Indianapolis from Jaws, the actor actually was drunk? By all accounts of the making of Jaws, Robert Shaw was a very distinguished and respectable actor, that is, until he had a drink. His alcoholism made him particularly disliked with Richard Dreyfuss, who plays supporting character Hooper. During one of the first takes where Captain Quint drunkenly discusses his wartime experiences on board the doomed vessel the USS Indianapolis, Shaw got himself, for lack of a better word, hammered. Steven Spielberg was so unhappy with how it turned out that Shaw apologized the next day after his hangover and insisted he should do it again. This time he was sober. He did it in one take, and this take was seen in the final film. Fact 9. Did you know that Exorcist author William Peter Blatty won a game show and used the funds to write his best-selling novel? In 1961, he was working in public relations when he appeared as a contestant on the game show You Bet Your Life, hosted by the great Groucho Marx. He ended up winning $10,000, and Groucho asked him what he would be doing with that money, to which Blatty replied that he was going to be quitting his job to become a full-time writer and work on a novel. This novel was indeed The Exorcist. Probably because of this appearance, Groucho was directly referenced at the end of the Exorcist film, with Lieutenant Kinderman jokingly saying that he's playing Othello. Fact 10. Did you know that there was a Spanish version of Dracula made at the same time as the original 1931 Universal movie? Back in the early days of talking films, studios looked for a way to make them more marketable in other countries. However, dubbing and subtitles was not yet commonplace in sound film, so what American studios mostly did was hire actors from other countries and perform in their own language. The Spanish version of Dracula was filmed at night on the same sets by a different crew and a Spanish-speaking cast. Actor Carlos Villarreal gives a similar but slightly different performance as Dracula, and Mexican actress Lupita Tovar plays the female lead Eva, named Nina in the original film. This version of Dracula has some really amazing technical effects and camera shots that somehow make it superior to the original. And one more interesting fact, Lupita Tovar would later marry the American producer to the Spanish version of Dracula, Paul Kohner, and would have a daughter, Susan, who became an actress starring alongside Lana Turner in Imitation of Life. And here's this week's trivia question. And we move away from horror stuff and into something more fun. How about a Disney question? Okay. Well then, the animated movie The Aristocats has a fun collection of songs and characters. Most of the songs were written by the iconic songwriting duo the Sherman Brothers, and their style of making the music sound French was intended from the get-go. They even managed to persuade a long-retired French actor to come out of retirement to sing the title song. My question to you is, which French acting legend briefly came out of retirement to sing the title song for the Aristocats? And there we go for this week. Now make sure you remember to turn your clocks back an hour if you haven't already, and please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and ring the bell for future video notifications. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.